Campaign 2024 is underway. The leaders of all the major parties and some less relevant parties have hit the campaign trail. Over the next 6 weeks, they will travel the length and breadth of the United Kingdom. The nature of this election means the Conservative Party is going to be playing a hell of a lot of defence. Seats that you might have thought of as swing seats are practically safe Labour seats now, even though they don't hold them at the moment. And seats that should be safe Conservative are swing seats. Conservative MPs have been told any MP with a majority smaller than 15,000 should expect they're likely to lose. That's how bad things are getting right now. I'm Toby. I'm joined on Political Paradigms, as always, by Theo. Theo, hello.
Hello.
And Sonny is here. Sonny, we didn't get your reaction to the election being called because you weren't on at sort of last-minute notice. Give me your, 30-second reaction to the election being called.
Yeah, a bit shocking, a bit surprising. I think it was the Times who said it that they've been told that Sunak's given up. I think this is obviously it's more than obvious now, in my opinion. I think if he was actually trying, he would have maybe tried to go for an October election.
Yeah.
Maybe the inflation would have come down more. Maybe the cost of living crisis would have gone down a bit more. Maybe there'd be some space for a potential tax cut. But 4th of July, it's just like, I want to get out of this job as quickly as possible, it feels like. So, yeah, I think it'll be the obvious.
It does feel that way. It really does. I suppose that's as good a place as any to start, which is Conservative MPs have been panicking. They've been in a spiral. There was even talk of a leadership challenge to get rid of Sunak and call off the election. Didn't come to anything. That would be the real Joker moment, actually, if they ripped this election out from dangled.
You and your Joker moment.
Dangled it in front of our noses. We genuinely, I don't know if I could ever face sort of elections again. I'd be devastated. But they, they've been furious with Sunak. A lot of the briefing has been selfish. He's sending us to the slaughter. He doesn't care. He's not trying. And then the campaign has started in a bit of a mess. So to give you a highlights reel, obviously we had Rishi Sunak getting soaked, and some pollsters kicked off the campaign by doing those word clouds. Starmer got strong and change. Sunak got wet and weak. So the Downing Street rain cut through. You then had Rishi Sunak stood where they made the Titanic, and he got asked if it was a sinking ship. He stood on a plane and spoke with an exit sign pointing at him. He went to a factory, planted questions from Conservative councillors, pretending he was talking to voters. He's been in the pub today, taking his first sort of semi-day off of the campaign. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer says he won't take a single day off in these 6 weeks. And he was joking with some veterans in a Wetherspoons in Richmond about the fact he's relieved he didn't get pneumonia after the Downing Street announcement. Theo, what the hell's going on?
The thing that, obviously, I think, it's the start of an election cycle. Everyone's very excited because we've been in deadlock for a long time. The polls have been in inertia. And now we're seeing, the most surprising thing to me is the huge reaction from Tory MPs that entirely at the fault of Sunak making this election choice. At this time, they're going to lose their seats, most likely. Not an ounce of individual responsibility, not an ounce of awareness that this probably would have happened at any other time up to January 2025 from last October.
This was going to happen in November as well, right? Let's not play.
Yes. And this makes me think that there's some serious flaws and logical fallacies at play, owing to the desperate situation of these MPs and just the determination, I suppose, to deflect blame onto Sunak, which isn't going to save them their seats, but maybe the few that do remain, maybe it will give them some factional clout or something, because we know that the most likely counter-reaction is going to be, we weren't right-wing enough, we're going to shift to the right. And I suppose that may correspond to the MPs who are in remaining Tory safe seats who may be more ideologically ferocious, if that makes sense.
So, the sort of, I guess the scenario at this stage that we're heading for is the wipeout scenario. So, looking at Best for Britain, the State of the Nation election model done by Ben Walker. Now, he's been modelling by-elections and stuff like that right through the Parliament, and I shit you not, they'll do a by-election and they'll be like, one party gets 55%, one party gets 23%, and within a point or so, they nail it. They absolutely nail it. So I give this a lot of credence. Right now, again, there's a campaign. The Tory vote should firm up. They should have some comeback. They might not, but as of right now, Labour, 417 MPs. The Conservatives, 124. That is worse than any result for the Conservatives in the last 200 years. Count them. 64 MPs for the Lib Dems. That is mad. And only 22 for the SNP. Majority of Scottish seats going to Labour. Sonny, it's a bleak picture, and the Tory campaign isn't going well. Do you think this wipeout scenario is possible, or do you think something's going to happen that mitigates this?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's completely feasible. I think it's completely understandable. I mean, I don't even know if this is even worth being talked about, but everyone goes on about, oh, you know, the Tories always do bad in like kind of opinion polls because a lot of people don't admit they're going to vote Conservative, and then they do vote Conservative.
Shy Tories, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Tories might be on, what do you say, 124? Okay, they might be on 128. All right, big deal.
Okay. I mean, yeah, if they're polling at 23%, is it consolation if actually it turns out to be 28% or something?
Yeah, or I was going to think even like 25%, but it's pretty dire for them. I mean, it's probably quite good for the union, if anything.
The Scotland angle, you mean?
Yeah. I was going to say, like, you know, if you have a more Labour-leaning Scotland, then that's only good things for the union. So kind of bad for SNP, depending on your stance. I'm not saying who's right or wrong, but, you know, if you want the union, then that's a good thing for Labour. That's a good thing. If you don't, then that's a bad thing. But yeah, it's completely feasible. I don't think it's going to be completely like that, but I don't see the Tories fighting for some sort of hung parliament.
There was
absolutely ridiculous happens. I know there was chat about that for a while.
There was actually a point where I genuinely thought, because of the dogmatism of Ian Blackford's rhetoric in Parliament, that Scotland seceding from the Union was an actual possibility. But that seems to have been completely put to rest now by these numbers.
I mean, the thing for the SNP, I guess, at this stage is that they're going into the campaign at their lowest ebb, and they thought they'd have like 6 months to sort things out. They've gone in at their worst point, which isn't great for them, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, but did you also get the sense that there was real energy behind that?
Yes. So out of the pandemic, Nicola Sturgeon, ridiculously popular at that point, sort of pandemic bounce that Boris Johnson had in England, but on steroids. And you had sort of 55% of people in Scotland saying they were pro-independence for a good year or so. It's dipped since then. Maybe because of like economic instability, maybe because like the idea is like the SNP don't look very solid. I don't trust them to lead us out of the UK. For whatever reason, voters have sort of abandoned, that idea. It's back to sort of 50-50 or like 55% in favour of the union. We'll do a little bit about Scotland actually, because Starmer's been in Scotland. He's been talking about Scotland. Now, because of the size of Labour's lead, they no longer need Scotland. It's quite ironic that it was always said they needed Scotland for a majority, and at the point they might get Scotland, it's the point where they don't need it. But
that's under the assumption that the Tories can gain a sizable proportion of the electorate as they have done for the last 200 years.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds like that 200-year streak may be a shaky proposition. Because, you're assuming they do well in England. They're not doing well in England. This was Starmer in Scotland talking about the importance of Scotland.
Scotland is absolutely vital to Labour government, not just numerically, although that's important, but also because if I'm privileged enough to come in to serve as the Prime Minister, I want to be the Prime Minister for the whole of the United Kingdom, and therefore powerful voices from Scotland matter. But so far as our first steps are concerned, the economy, of course, is hugely important here in Scotland, which is why Anas and I have been working so hard on it. The New Deal for working people, really important for jobs here in Scotland. So the work that we're doing in the pledges, what Anas has said about what he wants to do with waiting lists, these are common issues that we do together and matter hugely for Scotland.
So we've got a few Labour announcements today, actually. I've got one on voting age and I've got one on workers' rights. Who wants workers' rights and who wants voting age? and I'll throw them to each of you. Sonny, which would you prefer to address?
I'll do workers' rights.
Okay, I'll go to Theo first. So Keir Starmer has said, and heavily implied it will be in the manifesto, which we'll get in a couple of weeks, votes for 16 and 17-year-olds in elections. Your reaction?
It's rubbing salt in the Tories' electoral wounds, really.
Do you think it's as
But
simple?
no, I've always. Sorry, what?
Do you think it's as simple as that, basically?
No, I don't think it's as simple as that. I think it's a genuine policy issue, something very widely discussed for the last 10 years. And I think definitely, constitutional change was something that really defined the Blair administration, and something of that magnitude I could easily see Starmer doing as well. I mean, that is of the same magnitude as many of the things that Blair did, such as, independent Supreme Court, things like that.
So workers' rights, the workers' rights package, which was called Labour's New Deal, spearheaded by Angela Rayner. So the thing about this is they've renamed it, and they appear to have basically gone, we're not going to do it in the first 100 days. We're going to do it in the we're going to do a consultation in the first 100 days of a Labour government. They're now calling it, get this, it's called Labour's Plan to Make Work Pay. So it would go through a formal consultation. You're looking at reducing 0 hours contracts, their scope, instead of getting rid of them outright. You're looking at expansions of parental leave, expansions of sick pay. You're looking at potentially a right to switch off. You're looking at a genuine living wage. You're looking at a ban on fire and rehire, giving unions the ability to do sectoral bargaining agreements. Sonny, is this radical politics? Is Labour sort of quietly bringing in something radical, or do you think this will be sort of tossed aside once they come in?
Difficult to say. Keir Starmer has no plan. Am I right?
He hasn't sealed the deal.
He doesn't seal the deal. No,
You can't trust Rishi Sunak put something out tonight going, you and your family will be in danger if you vote Labour. So they're really going for that angle.
yeah, it's a bit mental, to be honest.
He's really going for the national defence line.
Yeah.
That tells me he's lost it.
Does it?
Yeah, he's just mentally unstable.
But like, if something happens, right, during the campaign, do you think national security could help the Tories, or do you think they're making themselves look ridiculous?
What, like a national security anomaly?
Like something, I mean, we've got so many conflicts going on at once. They could come into the headlines, right? Something in Ukraine.
I'd say that it would have to directly impact the mainland UK in order for it to save Sunak.
I mean, nothing's going to impact. I think can we say nothing? We're not going to be invaded in the next 6 weeks. I think we can say that.
Ostensibly, no.
Ostensibly, no. But hey, the Vikings are coming. You never know.
If there was another Battle of Britain, then maybe Sunak could claim responsibility for that. But outside of that, I doubt it.
Sunak's
put on a couple pounds, start drinking bottles of whiskey and champagne every day. I think he could do it.
Sunak's we fight them on the beaches moment. The 2024 campaign turnaround. Oh, by the way.
No, but oh my God, it'd be so miserable if he did. They go, we'll fight them on the beaches. We'll fight them on the people. We'll do this and we'll do that. It'll be like reading a really dreadful bedtime story to children.
Theo, can you do the big fan of the pod thing again, please, Theo?
No, I've already done that. I've already done that on the pod.
But I'll
do it after the election.
Well, hey guys, big fan of the pod.
One last big fan of the pod after the election.
I wanted you to. Can you do that voice, but do like we'll fight them on the beaches?
This is the problem with being good at impressions, because people just ask you to do them constantly. Yeah. No, sorry, what was it?
We will fight them on the beaches.
We'll fight them on the beaches. Labour don't even know where the beach is.
Yeah. That's it. Vote Tory in 2024. Oh, fun fact, by the way, guys. I will throw it out there. Do you know what? I know this podcast is a bit of I feel like it's election time. It's a bit chaotic. That's fine. We're all over the place. There's like 1,000 things to cover. Tomorrow, I'm hitting the doorsteps. I'm not telling you for who or what party, but I'm doing political activities tomorrow. Are you guys partaking in any political activities in the next few weeks?
No.
That a no?
No, apparently not.
Would you? Are you tempted, Theo? You don't have to tell me who or where, but come on, there must be a few marginals in your area.
London is not the most marginal place.
Some Tory Lib Dem swingies in the outskirts, maybe?
The investment belt.
Yes, come on. You've talked about the investment belt. Go in there and put that thumb on the scale in the investment belt. You could make the difference, Theo.
It's hard to do 3,000 miles away, but when I get back to the UK, who knows?
Yeah, that's sounds like a plan.
But guys, I'll give you a hint. Toby is trying to keep Harrogate safe for who's been dominating it.
Sorry, are you accusing me of barnstorming Harrogate from my local Tory MP?
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, I'll give you
Harrogate for Harrogatians or whatever.
Yeah, actually, I'm running my own independent campaign, guys. Keep Harrogate.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. The Return to Gold Standard Party isn't running in my area, so I have no interest.
Is that like the referendum party of 2024? God.
Something equivalent.
Theo's Gold Standard Party. It gets 28 votes by the end of the campaign.
We get beaten by a guy in a furry costume or like dressed up as a dustbin.
You get beaten by George Galloway's outfit and Lord Buckethead. And what's Lawrence Fox's one? The Reclaim Party. I haven't heard about them for a bit. Do you remember that?
Reclaim Party.
It's like...
Are they like marginally different to Reform?
Yeah,
except
like...
they have a different name.
Do you know what it is? It's Reform, but more obsessed with social issues. Like, it's extremely online. It's...
Chronically online. Is it like the GB News Party?
Almost, but they go further. Like, a GB News presenter would hear, like, Reclaim, and they'd be like, damn, this isn't very tolerant. So it sort of goes a step further. So we've got Rishi Sunak out and about. Oh yeah, Telegraph polling. Get this, guys. So the Tory campaign, as we've been saying, is centred around national security. We've been hearing a lot about national security. Well, Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer both seem set to run presidential campaigns. They're making themselves front and centre. Keir Starmer's big face on his pledges, Rishi Sunak getting out there saying, you want me as Prime Minister or you want Starmer as Prime Minister. Here's the thing. Voters, apparently, according to The Telegraph, see Keir Starmer as more able to protect Britain from threats than Rishi Sunak. Discuss.
Wow.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cough like that. I don't really trust it. I don't really trust a guy like Rishi Sunak in many ways. I just think I don't know. I can kind of agree with that. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just think that Rishi Sunak has kind of got greasy palms in a metaphorical way.
I suppose the criticism would be, don't both of these guys seem a little bit slimy as politicians?
Yeah, but Keir Starmer feels less slimy. He just feels more dry. He just feels more like if someone said, there's been an airstrike on somewhere, he would kind of just go blank. Like, I don't know. Maybe okay. Maybe it's because like he's an ex-barrister and a human rights lawyer and he's all this and he's all that. I just feel like, oh, okay, he's gonna do something better than Rishi Sunak, which is like what? I don't know. I can't even slag him off because I don't know what you do. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah, this is the thing. So Keir Starmer is viewed by 8 points as being more able to keep Britain safe than Rishi Sunak. That is damning for a Conservative Party leader. 13% of Conservative voters think Starmer will protect them more than Sunak.
13%. Oh my God.
That's pretty... Whew. That's, yeah.
Quite dire.
That is quite dire. Theo, do you think the Tory campaign is going to... So we've all been assuming, I have been assuming as well, that the Tory vote will get back to, 28, 29, 30%. And they'll lose big. It'll be 1997, maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more. It won't be 100 seats, They won't be in the low 20s. Polling so far, it's not happened in the opening week of the campaign. That's fine, plenty of time for it to happen. But the Tory campaign is awful so far. Theo, is the Tory campaign going to kick into gear? Like, what do you think's going on? Because they've called the election and they seem less prepared than the opposition.
Yes, which I think is in the same vein as everyone's reaction in the Tory party, which is that we're not ready. There's no strategy behind this. It's a very chaotic decision. And the early stages of their campaign reflect that. and the idea that they're going to come up with some big turnaround, it doesn't align with the purpose for calling the election in the first place, which is basically, I suppose, get the loss over with. Sunak personally, get me out of here. I'm done with this. I give up. So I don't think they're going to be able to create a coherent campaign strategy that will somehow change their fortunes, especially, considering the chaotic environment in which it happens. And as you say, Sunak is losing on traditional Tory strong points, which tells you there's really no where for him to win. It's a lose-lose. He's not making sacrifices, going a bit down on one area to improve on another. It's just losses all around. And I think that will be reflected in the final vote.
When I say Michael Gove, what's the first word that comes to mind, Sonny?
And you think, oh, not great thoughts in many ways.
Give me a word.
Well, I'm personally pessimistic of probably his abilities in many ways. I don't get good feelings from this guy. I don't know why.
Theo, Gove, one word.
You know the word that does come to my mind, but the word I can say is so close. So close. I just think of how close he became to getting the top job so many times and just didn't make it. Why? I have not heard of him in the news in the last couple of days, so I'm not sure what this is about. But so that's what I would say.
I hate to break it to you guys, and I know you'll be really sad.
No, is he stepping down?
It's Gova. It's Gova.
It's Gova. Oh,
is he leaving politics?
He's leaving. He's done. He announced it yesterday night, Friday night, along with more MPs more Conservative MPs than in any election since 1945.
Well, all I can say is thank you, Mike, for making my A-levels intellectually stimulating and not a walkthrough.
Thanks for the tears, Mike.
Thanks for making me study university level calculus when I was 17.
Thanks for the phonics, bro. But yeah, he's gone. It's Gova, and there's no way back.
Well, and May as well, but I think we expected that, right?
Isn't that so
maybe
funny?
So
go on.
Maybe we'll have a critically acclaimed, very famous podcast soon.
Isn't it funny that he came out? I don't know if you guys saw it, but he came out and he was like, "Oh, I think Sunak's pulled a blinder. This is such a good idea. So bold going for the election." Then the next day he goes, "Yeah, I'm stepping down, guys."
Gove's greatest thing is being like a complete Machiavellian snake half the time and a complete sycophant the other half. There's no in between. He either worships the current prime minister or he is literally like the guy from House of Cards.
Do you remember when he House of Cards Liz Truss? And he just went,
yes.
Liz Truss did that interview on the BBC. Then they were like, and now we go to Michael Gove. And he's just sat there, looks her in the eye and goes like, yeah, it's all awful. Just trashes everything.
Well, and Boris as well. But you know what's interesting about his resignation and Theresa May is that we've had basically, still in Parliament, a good number of MPs and former ministers even from the Cameron, as far back as the kind of Blair era. By the next time the Tories get into office, assuming we follow the same cyclical nature of politics that we have, there'll be no one from those eras left. It will all be new MPs. It will all be Sunak, Johnson, and later era MPs, I think, given how many are stepping down here and will step down in the intervening years.
It's going to be whatever the result, it will be a seismic shift in the soul of the Conservative Party.
Yeah, and if you also just think of what that implies, how many more of these people will be really kind of, internet age politicians, people really grounded in the culture wars and everything like that. I think it will have interesting implications. And like I said, this will be the first, we said this a couple months ago on the podcast, this is the first election cycle where, well, not the first election cycle, but the first major change of government where social media and 24-hour news cycle really plays an integral role, and Twitter and everything like that.
Completely seismic. I've heard someone say this is going to be the podcast election. We endorse that here at Political Paradigms. Few other loose ends. So we've had, Starmer's been up in Scotland. Sunak's been all over the place. He's in a warehouse answering questions about disability benefit. All sorts of stuff, fun stuff like
Answered
that.
questions.
Election things, yeah. We've got the mass exodus of Tory MPs. we've got the disaster of a Conservative campaign. We've also got the Nigel Farage story, which is interesting. So he's announced he's not standing, and there has been some murmurs that Rishi Sunak called the election early to avoid Nigel Farage sort of leading Reform into the election. Although he is going on Laura Kuenssberg tomorrow morning, so keep an eye out for that. I haven't seen Farage on like the BBC doing a big interview for a while, so that might mean something. Sonny,
Theo, where were you when it
hang on, I'm
sank
just
in?
oh.
I was like, well, who are you talking to, Sonny or Theo?
Sorry, that was yesterday's the other week's podcast started playing. I'm going to leave that in. That's so funny. Should we hear what I was saying?
Yeah,
Hang on.
impressive.
Theo, where were you when it sank in that this was actually...
Oh yeah, this is the general election emergency podcast, wasn't it? Anyway, as I was saying, Sonny, what do you buy the idea that Rishi Sunak called the election to head off Nigel Farage? Do you think that's true?
I think that was most likely a factor. I think that was probably, if you wrote a list of all the reasons to call a general election, that's probably on there. I think it's quite low on the list, but it's most likely that. I think the biggest one would have probably been him fed up, and he was just like, I can't do this anymore. And so that's probably it. I think probably did that much, but it would have had some effect. It would have been some silver lining, being like, oh, well, it might actually be a good strategy because then Nigel Farage doesn't get involved. I'm like, yes, well, Nigel Farage plainly is not your biggest problem. Keir Starmer and an incredibly popular Labour Party and the nation that hates you is your biggest problem. Fix that first and then deal with Farage. But yeah, yes, probably somehow.
Does anyone have any election conspiracy theories? Does anyone think he called it for some weird reason, like a scandal's going to drop or something? There was all sorts of rumours going around just purely because it was such weird timing. Anyone heard anything interesting?
Oh my God, actually, I heard one thing. It's not really an incredibly important or really deep conspiracy theory, but I thought it was such a... But I'll tell it to you and then you make your mind up. Someone went, it's actually quite clever that Sunak called the election now, because think about it. On the 4th of July, do you know who's not going to be in all the big cities? University students.
Oh.
And so actually it means that Sunak's going to be able to have a better chance at winning the cities, and it's how he's going to do it. I'm like, what, so you think like Bradford, London and Liverpool is going to save his chances of being Prime Minister? I'm like, mate, calm down. I mean, yes, there won't be any university students there. Not going to change a single thing, mate. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, I don't think that's the move, is it? That's not happening.
No.
No. It's definitely not happening. Okay, so Liberal Democrats, they could be irrelevant and have 20 seats at the end of this campaign. They could be the official opposition. It really depends. Obviously, that's a bit of a stretch. It really depends on how those commuter belt voters vote. Theo, are you bullish or bearish on the prospects of the Liberal Democrats in campaign 2024?
I'd say I'm decently bullish. I'd say there's no mass appeal to the Liberal Democrats like they had in 2019 with their complete anti-Brexit campaign, which went really, really well, and their leader didn't lose the seat. No, but there's a vacuum. There is a vacuum. Like I said, the Labour success mainly comes down to a large anti-Tory sentiment. The victory falls into Starmer's lap. That does mean, I suppose, there'll be some pockets where the Liberal Democrats can fill that recession of Tory support.
It's the anti-Tory,
instead of Labour.
The anti-Tory mood everywhere, isn't it?
Yes, in those Lib Dem Tory swing seats, they can definitely make more gains than they did in the last election. I'll say that.
I think that is just about it. We are into the campaign. I believe we're on, it's the third day. I think this is day 3 of campaign 2024.
It got announced on Wednesday, I think.
Yes, it did. Then we had Thursday, Friday. Yeah, this is the third.
Yeah, it's the third day.
Third campaigning day. Quick maths. We will be back. I mean, it could be tomorrow, it could be Monday, but we're going to be back very soon. We're going to be doing regular podcasts throughout the campaign. Before we go, Sonny, any final thoughts as we head into this election? What are you thinking about? What are you looking out for?
Not looking out for much, but okay, obviously I'm not, I'm a mere 19-year-old boy, so I haven't exactly had much political experience or things like that. But I actually, honest to God, think that the Lib Dems could have done so much better than I think they're going to. And I think they politely, they missed an absolute sitter. Maybe not absolute sitter, but I think, oh my God. Okay, I was talking to my friend about this, and I believe this relatively strongly. So you can debate me on this, and I'll probably agree with you. But if the Lib Dems... Okay, so right now, from what I know, and I know a couple people, not inside the Lib Dem party, but Lib Dem members and people who like the Lib Dems and things like that, they're doing a kind of like quite a dirty campaign, actually, a bit of a smear campaign in some ways, but also like a very specific campaign to seats that they think they can win. So they're not doing like a nationwide campaign, they're targeting Oldham or Oldham West or whatever it is, and just going ham there, and then like 30 other constituencies and only focusing on this area.
Yes, there's a story out about this. They're aiming at, I think there's 80 seats, and that is the only place they're campaigning basically. It's 80 Tory Lib Dem seats.
They're not running where they don't think they're going to all this stuff. It's like kind of just like percentage football. No, sorry, not percentage football. Percentage politics. Which I think is a bit dead, to be honest. But anyway, I definitely think that if the Lib Dems marketed themselves as a kind of centre-right, small C conservative, nothing crazy. Okay, maybe they don't hate Rwanda bills or whatever, that's their decision. They kind of come with this kind of centre-right, minimal government spending, this and that. The Tory people who can't stand Tories but can't bring themselves to vote Labour, which they quite likely will, I think they would have flocked to Lib Dems. And it might be the difference between 60 seats and 65 seats, or it could have been 85 seats. And the reason I think the Lib Dems did so well after Iraq was because they were practically the only party anti the Iraq war. So when the Iraq war became very unpopular, they're like, oh my God, the Lib Dems, they were saying this all along. They're brilliant. Let's vote for them. I think that's what they could have been. But no. What are they going to be? I don't know. But,
well, they're kind of a weird wing of the Labour Party, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Exactly. And the thing is is if you don't like the Tories and you like Keir Starmer stuff, you're not going to vote for Lib Dems, you're going to vote for Labour. Like, what is the Lib Dem trying to achieve? Nothing. They're going to change the bins in the constituency. Okay, great. Wow. Anyway, that's my thought.
Theo, what do you make of this? Do you know what? Here's my take on this. So your argument is sort of the Danny Finkelstein argument, which is that the Liberal Democrats shouldn't be like a weird supplement to the Labour Party that rises when the Labour Party rises and falls when the Labour Party falls, which is what we've always seen them do. They shouldn't be like a weird centre-left outlier. They should be the centre-right party and try and supplant the Conservatives. Like you say, in that scenario, maybe they do become the official opposition and politics becomes like centre-right Lib Dems against sort of centre-left Labour. The issue with that is Ed Davey has said we are a party of the centre-left. On certain issues, they're campaigning to the left of Labour. They're sort of in Labour's slipstream. They're looking at getting a lower vote share than last time, but probably triple the seats they got last time. Theo, if you were the Liberal Democrats, would you do what they're doing now, or would you look longer term and try and be like the new face of the centre-right?
Longer term, I think being the new face of the centre-right is certainly more pragmatic. But I don't think party leaders trying to get votes in an election think long term. I don't think politics in its current form, with the way the system is structured, is about thinking long term. I lament that, but either way, there is going to be demand with these kind of city affluent liberals who have this kind of phony concern for social issues but want to keep their capital safe. There's a demand that those voters have that the Lib Dems can definitely fill. And apart from being mostly a kind of tactical voting last resort party, there are some people who genuinely could vote Lib Dem with conviction, especially in the investment belt seats. Yeah, I said it again. And for this election, who knows? But I really don't think that there's I'm sure that there is an unprecedented level of kind of like further left support. but I don't think the Lib Dems can successfully target that. I think that would either go to Labour, maybe the Greens. I'm not too sure, honestly. But certainly this strategy long term is not effective, but clearly they think that for this election cycle, it will be.
And finally, Theo, anything you're looking out for?
In what regard?
Just over the next few days until the next pod, campaign-wise.
A surprise U-turn from Farage.
Oh, what? He hops. Ooh. He's like, actually, guys, Oh, you think he might? Oh.
Bait and switch, guys.
The Farage, what? The 1 week bait and switch? Just to troll us.
That would be the way to do it. Look, if I was Farage's policy advisor, I would do that.
What do you mean? Just he saw the Michael Gove resignation and jumped back in. Sorry, Sonny, go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you think there was some chat for a while, and it might have just died down, and I just didn't realise. Do you think he can make some sort of shock move to the Tories, like maybe in the next week or week and a half, and Sunak's like, you know what, I'm leaving in 5 weeks by then or 4 weeks by then. Why the hell not? Sunak, Farage, get on board, get your flabby neck involved. Let's see what we can do.
Sorry, what? So you're saying? Sorry, you're going to run me through this again?
No, I was saying, do you think that Farage can make a shock move to the Conservatives, and then Sunak push some kind of like relatively far right agenda?
99.999999999% no, I would say, because reform have pitched themselves as we want to destroy and supplant the Conservatives, and then Farage has come out and been like, I want to see Rishi Sunak's government eviscerated. I don't think so. Although people were saying yesterday, they were like, imagine if Rishi Sunak stands down as an MP. Just goes, yeah, that's it, lads. All right. Let's see what else we got going on. So, from my end, I would say the one thing I'm looking out for in the next couple of days, next 2, 3, 4 days, the campaigning. Is the Conservative campaign going to get into gear? Are they going to launch some non-ridiculous attacks on Labour? Are they going to say anything of interest? I'm looking out for that. And then on the other side of things, I'm also intrigued to see, is the Conservative vote share going to go up at all in the polls? Are they going to start inching up towards 30% instead of 20%? Because that is the difference between a landslide defeat and sort of ceasing to exist as a viable party of government. On the other side of things, on the flip side, I am also very interested in the leadership approval ratings. You know me, I'm the polling guy. Keir Starmer is now net popular in a number of polls. His approval numbers have been going up. I think that is partially a function of voters that want a change now sort of getting almost Stockholm syndrome. They're like, well, we have to like Keir Starmer now. So sort of anti-Tory voters that don't like Starmer are going, okay, we like Starmer, just because he's change. And Rishi Sunak's numbers are dire, but they've gone up a little bit. Let's see if some of the base comes home. I saw in a YouGov poll, sort of 2019 Conservative voters, a big jump of the number of them approving of Sunak. Obviously, these are voters that were probably always going to come home, but you're seeing the base beginning to rally, which could mitigate the sort of 100 seat scenario. That is just about it from us. Theo, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sonny, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we will see you guys very, very soon. We'll be back with more coverage of campaign 2024.